Good morning. Welcome to the graduates and the families, and it's good to be here at Mount Zion Church. What a great song we just heard, a great voice. That's one thing I can't do is sing or play guitar or anything such as that. Let's have a show of hands of everybody in here who has a GED. It's the degree I'm the most proud of. When I was a junior in high school, I was actually a year behind because education didn't come to me easily. When I was in third grade, I failed. You have to work to fail third grade. It just doesn't happen by accident. So when I was a junior in high school, I really should have been a senior. I was a little bit older than the rest of my classmates, and I loved playing football and loved playing basketball. I was having a really good time. And in February of my junior year in high school, Julie Ann Adams, who I had been dating for some time, said to me something that's changed my life to this very day. She said, "I'm pregnant." And my son is now 32 years old. His name is Dustin, and he was born of that pregnancy. And I did like most people did in the mid-'70s. I used it as a tremendous excuse to quit school. I said, "Oh, well, heck, this is great. I ain't got to go to school anymore. I'm going to quit school, and I'm going to go out and work, and I'm going to be a grown-up man, and I'm going to have all these things to do." And after about 6 weeks of realizing that, I'm sure that the salaries are the same by comparison, but after about 6 weeks of realizing I was making $2.35 an hour, and my son was eating about $4.50 an hour, I realized that I was in some pretty deep trouble. So what I did with a tremendous amount of support from my family and friends is I went back and I enrolled in my GED program, Orleans Parish Public Schools. And the interesting thing is this, it's funny how the world goes in circles. The principal of the school where I took the GED test in the summer after I quit, his name is Giolando. Turns out he was the principal of the same school that I failed third grade. And when I walked in the door to take the test, I don't know if this man was gifted with a memory from the Lord himself or he just was lucky. But he looked at me when I walked in the door and he said, "You know what, Serpas, I'm not the least bit surprised that I see you here." And over these last many years, I've looked back on that experience and recognized that the most important thing I could have done for my family, the most important thing I could have done for myself was start with the GED and not let that hold me back and not let that be the thing that would always be, geez, if you'd have just done that, you could have done this. I don't know what the future is for all of you, and you don't know what the future is for you yet either. I had no idea I'd go on and be further advanced in education. It didn't occur to me at the time, and maybe it may or may not occur to you right now. But by doing what you've done today, you've allowed yourself those choices. And that's the most important thing. You've allowed yourself those choices. The other thing you've done, and to really echo the words of the elder, everybody around you is watching you make these choices. And that's critical because we all make mistakes. There's days you wake up and just say, "Darn, what was I thinking when I did that?" And all of us have natural friends, and all of us have natural enemies. And our natural friends are going to support us, and our natural enemies are always going to be against us. And if you don't get lost between the two and you recognize that people want to see you be the best you can be, you'll always have support. You'll always have friends. Thinking through that, my last comments. When my mother was a 16-year-old girl living on Craig Air Force Base in Selma, Alabama, and her dad was the senior enlisted man for the base, my father was a 20-year-old boy from New Orleans, a New Orleans family from the 1800s. And this 20-year-old young man started dating this 16-year-old girl, and the next thing you know, out of that pregnancy came me. So really, I watched my mother. See, my mother didn't get her GED until she was probably 32 or 33 years old. She raised 3 children. She worked at Burger King. She worked at Roy Rogers Restaurant. You may remember Roy Rogers. She always worked, but she always wanted to be a nurse. So what she did is she finally finished her GED with tremendous effort in the early 70s with a boy who was 13 and a half being completely goofy, a boy who was 12 who was even goofier, and a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old that was the goofiest of all. And my father was a philanderer. He never came home much. And she had to deal with all of that, but she said, "I'm going to get my GED because that's the only way I can go to nursing school." So she got her GED. She went to nursing school. She went to licensed practical nursing school in Louisiana and scored the highest board scores in LPN in 1978 when she passed. She passed the same year I quit high school because of pregnancy. Then she decided she wanted to be an RN. That's all she ever wanted to be. She stopped at the LPN first because that was the order of the life that had been put in front of her. Several years later, she went and finished her registered nursing degree at Charity Hospital in New Orleans, one of the oldest and most well-known nursing schools in the country. She finished at the top of her class and probably, I think, got the second highest board grade. I mean, she's a brilliant woman. But her and I both lived through teenage pregnancy. And when the Lord called my mother in 1990 after a needle stick from a patient that eventually killed her, it reminded me of all the things she did that I watched. And I watched her make those choices. And I made a commitment to the Lord that night that my children are going to get through teenage years without pregnancy, and they're going to go to college. Well, I'm 3 for 3 on the teenage pregnancy. Thank God for that. And I'm 2 for 2 on the college. My older daughter's in graduate school at LSU to be a nurse practitioner. My youngest daughter will be a senior at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville in August. And my son's been in and out of college as much as you and I've changed our shoes. But he's a good kid, and I know eventually he's going to get there. I'm proud to stand among you with the same distinction. I'm a proud GED graduate. Congratulations.